Welcome to Bet On It, College Football Edition. It is Week 10, and I am Kelly Stewart. Let's bring in Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, Gianni Corrales at Greek_Gambler, both on Twitter. Make sure you're giving both of them a follow. VR, I'd like to give you a shout out. I heard you gave out a pretty sizable underdog last night in the UFC, so thank you for sharing that with us always. We're going to get right in.
Mine. It was the perfect ending to the season because I had a good season. Overall, I had a losing week. I won 7 of the 10 weeks of the Contender Series, which isn't bad. But the final fight was a 10-1. I gave out the underdog, which was like 5-1. And then I gave him out, though, to win by decision, which was 10-1. It paid. So, yeah, nice way to cap off the end of the season. And real quickly, thank you for bringing that up. And not to make any excuses because I love you guys. I love the support you give us in our show, but I want you to manage your risk very carefully. And I've only released one football bet so far this week to my subscribers. Remember, there's UFC 268 on Saturday. There was the Contender finale yesterday. I spent the last 2 days at the UFC Apex filming and doing a lot of things. I'm honest with my subscribers. I'm honest with the people that support me. And I'm not going to put out picks that I'm not confident in yet or backing with my own money. So I do have a lot of information to share, but I will let you know what I did actually bet and what I'm leaning strongly on and still trying to confirm. And it's on you how you want to manage your risk. That's why I always say, whether you want to follow, fade, or ignore, I just hope you make money. And it's the same when I share gold. I'll tell you if I actually bet it, if it's like a 4% play, 5%, if it's a best bet. Everything else, you got to decide on your own whether you're going to follow, fade, or ignore. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I don't use it. But even with all that volume stuff, the bet's got to be so small if you are using that. Because, again, they just bet so much volume. Anytime they see a little value, they're going to fire. So, again, not to go long, thanks for the compliment, Kelly. And, again, I just want our supporters to manage risk correctly. And hopefully Marco's got some bombs for them and a little more confident than I am this week.
I think Marco and I have quite a bit for today. And this is another thing I wanted to touch on. VR, just because we're talking about a game doesn't mean we're betting it. That goes for the big game breakdown. This is the biggest game on the board. Top 25 matchup, Auburn at Texas A&M. Auburn, a 4.5-point underdog. There are some fours if you are looking to bet the A&M side, 49 and some 49.5 over at the WagerTalk odds screen. Marco, I'm going to go to you first here. First glance, I'm looking at the Auburn Tigers. I want to back this side, but then I think about Bo Nix on the road and how many issues he's given me over the years. I'm not sure I want to get involved in this game. What say you?
Well, Kelly, I don't know. I thought for a second you had my notes because my opening line of this game for the show is, at first glance, Auburn looks like a very live dog. And, and they do. And that's the way you want to gravitate. But, I dug a little bit deeper into this game. And for me, I got to look at the Texas A&M side. No shame in Auburn's road games. They lost at Penn State. And if you remember the Penn State game, there was a couple controversial calls that went against them in that game. They lose by 8. That also was the whiteout game at Penn State. And we know how tough that is to play Penn State when they have the whiteout game. So, losing there by 8, it really, raises their stock, in my opinion, rather than lowering it. And then, of course, they lost on the road to Georgia. Nothing to be ashamed about there. Georgia, the best team in the country right now. And that's, automatic. We'll chalk up a loss there. I look at Texas A&M, and they've had a couple weeks to prepare for this game. And what I like about this A&M team, even though their last 2 games, Kelly, were against, weak opponents, let's be honest, they came right after the Alabama game. And how many times this season have you seen teams off of a monster game, a big win, come out and lay an egg the next week? They're flat. We saw that with Iowa. We saw Penn State off of the loss and different things. Texas A&M had that monumental win, the biggest win probably since Jimbo Fisher went to Texas A&M, and yet they came out and took care of business the next 2 weeks. That shows me this team's kind of special. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the points with them here. My concern with Auburn, is, are they going to be able to stop the A&M ground game? Auburn's allowed 267 yards to Georgia State, 201 to Georgia, and 232 to Arkansas, and then 157 last week to Ole Miss. If A&M can get the running game going, that gives them the balanced attack, and I think it keeps Auburn off balance defensively the whole game. I'll take the home side. I'll lay the points. We haven't got to the window yet for the clients in this game, but that's the side that I like is A&M.
VR, I'd normally ask you if anything's come across your accounts regarding this game, but as you opened the show and said, hey, look, you haven't really released anything yet, there hasn't been a lot come across early in the week. I am going to ask, though, for your opinion, at least on the side.
Yeah, no steam in any of the accounts. I checked every account, wrote all the stuff down that they fired so far. Nothing on that game yet. What I've dug into, here's what I can tell you. The points don't matter. Meaning, if you like the underdog, bet them on the money line, at least sprinkle a little bit. And if you bet like the favorite, bet them confidently, meaning don't look for teasers and stuff like that if the line goes higher. Because in this series, the points haven't mattered. And it's been like that with most of football. We put so much emphasis on ATS, but like I always say, even in the NFL, which is one of the most efficient betting markets on the planet, the mean average error is still 10.2 points per game. So they are 10.2 points off the closing line, not the opening, the closing, which is the sharpest because all the info has been factored into it by that point. We know who's hurt. We know what the weather is. We know what the sharps like. We know what the public likes. So obviously that's the best line we have to compare. And yet it's still over 10 points off the final score. So again, this is a perfect example of this series. The points haven't mattered. Look back. The dog wins outright or the favorite just runs it up. And for me, I like what popped out the most is the under. Because you think of offense when you look immediately at the stats, because 452 yards per offense for Auburn, almost 400 for Texas A&M. But again, it's almost like a fight. When you have two dominant wrestlers, it ends up being a striking match. When you have two strikers, it's whoever could take it to the mat and is better grappling probably is going to have the advantage because they could do something, a surprise, something different. And here, that's the case. You have two high-octane offenses, but you have defenses that practice against these offenses every single week. And I think we don't give enough emphasis on that side of the ball when you look at teams like Auburn, teams like A&M. Marco nailed it. A&M's going to need to run the football. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're not going to have a lot of success because Auburn only allows 3.3 yards per rush, but they're still going to have to do it. They attempt 35 per game, right around that NCAA average. So they will have to rush whether they like it or not. And they have a defense, at least that pass defense that allows 5.9 yards per pass. And to me, that's huge because Auburn needs to pass the ball to have success to score. And I think the A&M defense will be able to stifle it a little bit. So I love that under. I haven't fired again because 50 is such a key number in my brain. Being old school, there's such key totals, key sides that once I saw it open 50, now it's 49. It's like, damn, am I too late? I probably shouldn't be. It should still be plus EV at 49 if it was at 50. But again, we still got time to dig in. And I think the public's going to go over anyway. So no rush to get to the window, but that's what I like. I like the under in this game a lot.
All right. A&M is the lean for Marco. The under is the lean for VR. I'll tell both guys, send out a little tweet if they end up on either side. Now it is time for some TNA with Ralph Michaels. There he is, Mr. Ralph Michaels, the king of the charts, the stat daddy himself. Ralph, you have a chart for us this week that is rather interesting. We're talking teams that are no longer bowl eligible. We've got some teams with rest, no rest, back-to-back games here for home or away. Let's break this down and so you can tell everybody what you dug up this week.
Well, Kelly, I love being a myth buster. And when I'm reading game write-ups or reading about teams, How often do you hear, oh, they're on a second straight road game in November, they're going to be fading? Or this team home for a second straight game, it gives us a big edge. Well, I'll tell you what, that is not freaking true. I get bothered so much when people write or quote stats or situations that they think are a positive when it's not true. If the guys would put up the chart and will quite simply explain the chart as we go. Take a look. The top part of the chart, the top third, is college football teams back-to-back road games with no rest. The middle chart, college football teams back-to-back home games, no rest. And on the bottom, back-to-back home versus teams back-to-back away. So let's look at the top chart. College football teams in November, when they're playing back-to-back games, they have actually covered 53.9%. If you look at September college football teams back-to-back on the road, 49.7. October college football back-to-back on the road, 50.8. But November, again, 54% for teams playing a second straight road game with no rest. And then I broke it down. What are those teams off a win as an away favorite, off a win as an away dog, off a loss as an away favorite, and a loss as an away dog? Look how much we could take out if they are off a loss as an away favorite. So if you're playing a back-to-back road team and they lose their first game as an away favorite, that is only a 41.9% spot. Every other situation is a positive spot. So let's look at teams now, back-to-back home games. The middle of the chart. September and October, almost the same as the road teams, basically 50%. But teams playing back-to-back home games in November, only 45.4%. So when you see that situation, looking on the very bottom, a team that is playing a back-to-back home game against a team playing back-to-back road games, the home team, 34.4%. Exact opposite of what I must have read 3 or 4 times already for this week, and I'm sure I'm going to be reading numerous times the rest of the month. So in that situation late in the year where you think that home team is at home for a second straight playing that road team has covered 63.6% of the time. Kelly, I will be putting this up on Twitter right after the show. So those that are watching can take a look at it, break down the numbers they're interested in. But again, just another fallacy that people tend to write, that people tend to believe, that we've proved wrong here on Bet On It TNA.
Yeah, I always laugh, Ralph. I mean, we're talking about college athletes or professional athletes here. We're not talking about 40-year-old guys that are hungover. I mean, this is always an interesting talking point that you see them bring up, but thank you for disproving it.
Absolutely. Now that we're into this part of the year and we're into November, the other thing I want to talk about is teams that got to 7 losses. And why is 7 losses so important? Well, I'll tell you what, you may not be a national contender when you're practicing in August. You may not even be a division champion. Those may not be your goals when you're in August. But I assure you, at least 98% of the teams, maybe 99% of the teams, have a goal of at least getting to a bowl game. Well, once you have 7 losses, that is shot. You can no longer go to a bowl game. So what happens when you get that 7th loss and you're off a previous loss? So you lost your last game, it got you to 7 losses, and it now makes you bowl ineligible. As a home favorite, those teams have covered 45%. As a home dog, those teams have covered 44%. Listen to this one, though, Kelly. Teams that got their 7th loss and are off a loss and now an away favorite have only covered 33%. There is one good record out of this. Teams that have their 7th loss, and if you're an away dog, you have actually covered 56.5%. So find those teams this week that are have 7 losses and are off a loss, they're in a fade situation if they're a home favorite, a home dog, and especially in an away favorites role.
That's really interesting, Ralph. I would not have quite expected that. Maybe a lack of morale, but it does make sense of them laying points that it's not going to correlate to a positive number.
Absolutely. And just a couple more to finish off quickly. One we talked about often last year, and I didn't go through and specify the games this week, so I'm going to make you do some work. But this is one that I do want you to write down. It's easy to look each week, especially if you download the free WagerTalk college football logs on my page. Teams that are off a win, but they got outgained by 120 more, or they got outgained by 120 yards or more, and they're now an away dog. This system that we talked about numerous times last year has still only covered 33.2% of the time. So if you are off a win, but you were outgained by 120 or more yards, and this week you're an away dog, that has been an instant fade. Two more I want to talk about.
You're not going to give us any hints as to who that is, Ralph? Some of us have to work a lot of hours today and would really appreciate a little hint or two.
Well, here's the deal, Kelly. I just pulled this one up before, and I did not go and break it down. So I'm telling you, I'm not sharing them with you because I actually didn't do the actual work yet. So I love having all the answers for you. This is one that I found that I was looking through some situations. So brutal honesty there. It's not that I'm cheating you. It's that I have not gone through and done the work for you yet. 2 more. Since 2012, late in the year, weeks 8 and on, if you're a home dog off a shutout loss, you have only covered 34% of the time. That situation does apply to FIU this week versus Old Dominion. FIU is a home dog. We're late in the season, week number 8 on, and they are off a shutout loss. So fade FIU, and Alabama's laying a big number to LSU. We know that. But home favorites of 11 or more off a bye and off a win. So you win a game before your bye. You are now off a bye, and you're the home favorite of 11 or more. Those teams, 79 and 47 against the spread. That's 62.7%. And if those teams, like Alabama, are a home favorite of 21 or more, like they are this week, they have actually covered 67% of the time. So another one that makes total sense. You have momentum. You won before your bye. You're a big favorite. You're rested. You're ready. Those big favorites have covered 2 out of every 3 times since 2012.
As always, great stuff from Ralph. Maybe I can get him to do some homework later on this afternoon. Send me a text and we'll put a little tweet out. Speaking of tweets, at Cal Sports LV. If you guys are not following Ralph, you are missing out. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Steam Game of the Week. Is the deli back open? Maybe some barking dogs.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com. We've reached the midway point of the 2021 NFL regular season, and the Gold Sheet would like to say thank you for another fantastic year. The Gold Sheet has been serving NFL and college football bettors for over 6 decades and continues to make enhancements and improvements into today's digital age. Whether you're a lifelong subscriber, used to buy it at the newsstand, or perhaps have never seen the Gold Sheet, we want to share this week's edition with you. To celebrate Customer Appreciation Week, all Gold Sheet football products are free. That includes the traditional Gold Sheet with write-ups on every NFL and college football game for this week. No codes, coupons, or registration required. All productions are available for download at goldsheet.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is my favorite time of the show. That's right. We're looking for those barking dogs. And I just took a little sneak peek behind the scenes. And Marco, I think I really like your barking dog this week.
Yeah, Kelly, we got a live dog, in my opinion. And to be honest with you, I could have used this in the sandwich segment of the show as well, but I did not. We're going to go with Liberty, and Liberty plus 9.5. They're going to play Ole Miss this week, and this is a perfect sandwich spot. If you look at Ole Miss, they're coming off a tough game last week. They played Auburn. We talked about Auburn at the top of the show. That was a big game last week in the SEC between those two, and Mississippi come out on the short end. So the knee-jerk reaction for most people would be, hey, let's go with Ole Miss. They got a good offense. They got a coach that likes to score points. They're going to bounce back this week, right? Well, you know what? It's in the middle of the SEC conference schedule, and they're playing an out-of-conference game. And they got a big game next week against Texas A&M, the team that knocked off Alabama. You talk about a sandwich spot. I just don't see how Ole Miss takes Liberty seriously. And this is a Liberty team. Now, granted, throw out last week's game. They put up 62 points against UMass. Kelly, you, me, VR, Brian, Ralph, we could probably line up and score a couple points against UMass. So let's not get too excited about that. But this is a spot where I think this Liberty offense, and this is a big game for them, they're going to give Mississippi all they can handle. It's going to be one of those games that I think is going to be a shootout, going to be one of those games where team that has the ball last wins the game. I'm going to call it 38-37. You decide who you want to put on top. If I don't know that I can get to the window and actually get that sprinkle on this one, but maybe just a little sprinkle, just a pinch you could throw in the recipe there. But I do like them plus the points this week with Liberty. Grab the inflated number, in my opinion, with Liberty live dog on Saturday.
Love those barking dogs. VR, who is your barking dog for college football week 10?
I found a dog that starts a little bit early, and I say they get shady, we get shady. They started this game a half hour before we're expecting it, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Army Air Force. Come on now. And they're going to try to backdoor that. The 3 was there. I missed it. That's the only reason I haven't released a premium play on this. And again, haven't fired on it because 3 is such a key number. Right now, Army at plus 2.5, it's minus 105. So I'm holding out, maybe able to get 3. And when that happens, I probably will get to the window. Feel free to ask me. But it sets up nicely. This is one of those games that is a coin flip at that. In fact, I probably should be betting the money line. That probably makes the most sense because I'll probably be able to get 125 on this, probably 130 even by game time. And if you can get plus 130 on a coin flip, forget the points. Who needs them? I may end up actually doing that because, number one, you see over the last couple seasons, the games come down to a field goal. Who's going to end up winning it? And these two teams just are so identical. It's almost going to come down to a random outcome, kind of like a coin flip. It's random, 50-50. So if I give you plus 130 on a random outcome, you got to take that, win or lose. That's a great bet. And that's what I'm talking about. My job is to find good bets. What's going to happen is going to happen. I can't control that part. I'll keep repeating it till it sinks in because this is the most important. There's only 3 things you can control. Plan the bet the plan, manage risk. That's it. After that, they're going to go out there and play the games. And everything I look at, these two teams are just so evenly matched on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, how they approach the game. Just look at their stats, rushing, passing. I don't want to take all this time up because there's more important things to do, but just look at yards per play, yards per pass, yards per point. Look at those type of things. That low R-squared correlation to victory, but still a lot more correlated than some of the other nonsense we spout. So again, there's just so much that he says these teams are on equal footing. You got to just take the dog and conclude it's a good bet. So for me, I like Army, and we'll take the points. But again, I'll probably end up on the money line if I don't get the 3. I'll bet the money line instead of the 2.5. To be honest,
money line is better than 2.5. I'm addicted to that plus money. VR, yep. Marco, you know what I'm also addicted to? Your deli sandwiches. And I heard you're having a little 2-for-1 special again this week.
Yeah, you guys liked the second helping last week we gave you in the NFL show. So if you like that, I'll share some extra stuff with you guys in some of these segments. We're going to go with the official play of the show. That's what we're going to be graded on. The other stuff, the extra, like VR gives you the gold. I'll give you a few second helping plays. I'll tell you what, VR tells you to, smash the like button and comment. Here's what I'm going to want you guys to do this week, and I'll continue doing that. Shameless way to get the algorithms in our favor. Drop in YouTube. Wish me a happy birthday wish this week. It is my birthday week, or just tell me I'm older than dirt. Either way, it gets us a comment. I like that. We want to get those algorithms working. So I'll have a little bonus after I give you my sandwich game of the week. And you know what? If you listened to Kelly last week, you had Miami against Pitt. That was her best bet. I chimed in after her play and added to you that I agreed with the Miami side. But what I liked even better was the over. How easy was that in that game? So you had a nice run with Miami last week. Everything came up good for them. Well, now it's the time to go against them. They beat Pitt. That was a huge game. Pitt was the talk of the ACC at the moment because they beat Clemson the week before. Told you they'd be flat last week. Miami took advantage of that. Now the problem is it's Miami that's fat and sassy this week. So just off the Pitt game itself is enough to look to go against Miami. But look who Miami has up on deck. And I know you're going to look and you're going to say, but Marco, they suck this year. They can't be looking ahead to them. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if the team sucks or not this year. And that's Florida State. When you're Miami and you're playing Florida State or vice versa, it doesn't matter what the records are. You hate your opponent and you look forward to that rivalry game. And they're going to want to beat Florida State next week. They'll be looking ahead to it. And guys, after a game where they faced all those passes from Kenny Pickett last week, now you're going to have to deal with Georgia Tech in that running game. Seriously? This team's got the discipline to stay in their lanes and stop the run. And when they don't stop the run, it's going to open up the passing game for big plays. Good luck this week, Miami. I'm taking Georgia Tech. And you know what? I don't have a problem. Go ahead and sprinkle some in this one. I like Georgia Tech plus the points on Saturday. Now, for some little bonus coverage for you. Not going to be in the record. So if you guys call me out on Twitter, and I'm talking to you, Johnny, from Arizona, this is a bonus for you. Do what you want with it. But another game that was in contention for the sandwich was to go against Nevada this week and take San Jose State. You got Nevada coming off. Yeah, there was a pitiful team they played, UNLV. But if you understand rivalries, that was a big game for Nevada, and they ran up the score on a Friday night where, you don't have to share the stage with how many other college football teams you're playing on a Friday. They got to take care of it. They got San Diego State up next week. You talk about a sandwich spot looking past San Jose State. That was a spot. And one other, I almost forgot, pop in because we actually don't have a category for it. There's a Dream Crusher alert game this week. Memphis is playing SMU. SMU knocked from the ranks of the unbeaten last week in a tough game against Houston. I think it's going to be a tough week for SMU to bounce back. You can take a look at Memphis in the Dream Crusher scenario. That's it for me, Kelly.
I love to hear it, Marco. Georgia Tech is on my long list for dogs for my parlay. And boy, did you make a convincing argument for them. There's a good shot they may make it. VR, I know you said at the beginning of the show you didn't have a ton for the Steam game of the week, but I just saw your message and you said you have a game that just popped on your radar.
Yes, I do. And line's moving a little bit, but it's not at that key 3 yet, so we could still get down. And that's the North Carolina side against Wake Forest. Now, sharp bettors got on North Carolina a week too early against Notre Dame last week. So all the sharps were all over North Carolina. They were going to upset Notre Dame. They were going to go into Notre Dame and upset them. No, that wasn't going to happen. This is the week where you want to be backing them against a Wake Forest that actually doesn't have what Notre Dame actually has. Meaning Wake Forest is that phony 8-0 team that should easily get exploited by above average teams. And North Carolina is exactly that. Wake Forest is going to beat up on your Dukes, laying 16 points. They're going to beat up on your Norfolks. They're going to beat up on your Old Dominions. They had trouble against Syracuse. They needed overtime there. A team like North Carolina, they're going to have trouble against because North Carolina has offense. And that's where Wake's going to have a problem. I learned so much from being over in the MMA side. There's some fighters that are great hammers and others that are just can't be the nail. And it's like that with sports, with teams as well. Wake Forest is a great hammer. They're a terrible nail, meaning if you hit them back, they will fold. They're good if they're pounding. If everything's running smooth, Wake Forest is just going to be able to run you out and cover. It's that kind of offense. You see their yards per play. Don't have to regurgitate all of that. But now they're facing a North Carolina team that can do exactly that, even more efficiently on the offensive side of the ball. In fact, half a yard per rush more. And then passing wise, which is what Wake Forest is so good at, you got a better side of the defense for North Carolina. Again, North Carolina should be favored in this spot. The market agrees with me. It's moving in that direction. There's steam on it. It was a pick 'em. It was 1.5. Now it's 2.5. If you agree with me, I'd bet it before it gets to 3 or look at that money line. But there's some steam for you for this weekend's football. I got some
Great
gold
to hear.
Too.
You do have some gold for us? Well, then let's give out some gold before we go to commercial.
Real quickly. Here we go. And again, you choose what you're going to do. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Please, Kelly, let me do this. This is everything that came in you'll have it for tonight. This may come out late, but this is about learning. So you could look back at these. This is what I get and I have to go through. All of this is considered gold. And now I have to decide what I'm going to use, bet, release. All of this NBA is gold. 515, Clippers minus 1.5. 509, under 217, Knicks, Indiana. 503, under 213, Boston, Orlando, and under 104, first half. 513, over 213, Denver, Memphis. 505, over 212, Toronto, Washington. Under 108.5 in the first half in that same game. 501, under 219, Portland, Cleveland. 515, under 214, Clippers, whoever they're playing. 507, under 216.5, Chicago, Philadelphia. 501, Portland, minus 4. 504, Orlando, plus 7.5. 502, Cleveland, plus 4.5. And then another group came in and went under on the Denver, Memphis after the first group bet the over. That's what it means to move for groups that win long term. This is what they do all day. They fire. And when all the dust settles, they win money. They're ahead. That's why books move lines on their plays. So, whether you follow, fade, or ignore, dig into that and see what you could uncover. And more of that for college football. 384 Charlotte minus 5.5. 361 Utah State minus 16.5. 309 over 65.5 Central Michigan, Western Michigan. 307 over 66 Northern Illinois, Kent. Again, it's a ton of volume. I'll tell you when, again, if there's a 4%, 5% gold, like MicroStrategy, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, that's gold. That's platinum. That's unload on. This, dig a little with yourself, see what you agree with, and fire away and know that there's steam behind you. When you disagree, fade it or ignore it. That's how it works. Whether you follow or fade, like I say, I hope you cash them, don't trash them.
Holy shit. That was about 15 plays you just rattled off, VR. Good luck, everybody, deciphering through.
Every day. You know how it is.
Through the good and the bad.
Like you don't know.
Well, that, and you have to also decide what's a fake move, what's a real move. And luckily for us, you've been in the industry long enough to be able to decipher that. But the other day, I just want to shout out Costa Rica Premier League, I think is what it was. All I know is I got a plus 165 dog in a game I didn't even have to watch.
The NFL. Don't you worry. You're going to have to watch the NFL. There's a soccer that goes off tomorrow, so you'll definitely get it. And I got some UFC for you for $268. So you're going to want to get some
I love that
That's
because
gold that I
soccer
bet
is
already also.
okay.
NFL
Soccer is
show.
what gets us through the hard times. VR. I remember in the early days of being stuck at home and betting Nicaraguan soccer. So great memories. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's time for best bets.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Marco D'Angelo turned 60 this year, and to celebrate Marco's 60th, he's offering everyone 7 days of all-access service for just $60. That's every play in every sport for 7 days for just $60. That's less than $9 a day. Marco has been in the business for over 4 decades and is enjoying one of his best years ever. Look at these 2021 numbers. Number 1 this year in football, up 89% behind 64% winners. Number 1 this year in football with 5% best bets, hitting 75% of his biggest plays. Number 3 in the NBA over the past 12 months, up 59% in profit. Number 4 in MLB this season, picking up 42% for his clients. Just like fine wine, Marco is getting better with age. Get 7 days for $60 with coupon code MARCO60.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is now time for the best segment of the show. Of course, that means time for best bets. Mark already alluded to mine, and it seems like this season, Mark and I have really been in lockstep, at least with the barking underdogs. So I'm going to take Liberty plus 10 over Ole Miss. Now, is Liberty going to win this game outright? That I'm not sure of, but I think they are worth a money line sprinkle here. Hugh Freeze revenge, if you will. Yes, Marco mentioned that this team just beat up on UMass last week, but you know what that means to me? It means they're just a little bit more well-rested. Hugh Freeze, if you remember, was the head coach at Ole Miss for a short period of time before he got canned. You already know this team's had this game circled. This is the biggest game on their schedule this year. For the most part, Liberty's just been cruising by. Double-digit favorites every single week. I think this team is overall very healthy and going to be able to kind of shock the world here with Ole Miss. Plus, then Marco mentioned the sandwich spot. I think it's totally worth a little money line sprinkle. Marco, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
Well, Kelly, we don't have a dog this week. We got a favorite. We're going to head to the Pac-12, and we're going to take a look at USC at Arizona State. And I know that everybody's going to be saying, what am I smoking right now with Arizona State? Yeah, I know. I see they lost as a 16.5-point favorite last week, and they had 2 weeks to prepare for that great performance against Washington State. But, guys, they fell behind 28-0 in the first quarter and a half. They had 5 turnovers in the game. I don't care who you are. You turn the football over that much, you're going to lose a football game. What I did see from that game, though, is that Herm Edwards' team, when they fell down 28-0, they could have just rolled over and played dead and mailed in the rest of the game. They didn't. From that midway point of the second quarter, they outscored Washington State 21-6 to finish the game. They played strong and never quit, even though they lost the game. I think you see a better effort out of Arizona State this week. They still got goals that they want to get to. Speaking of goals, if you're USC and you're sitting at 4-4, what are you getting excited about? You've got a lame duck coach, okay? It's not, oh, well, hey, let's play hard for the coach because we want to, make a good impression for next year. No, this coach ain't going to be there next year. He's an interim coach, and he's not going to get the head coaching job. So do you want to finish the season out strong to get those 6 wins and become bowl eligible to go to what bowl? The toilet bowl? This is USC. You're supposed to be going to the Rose Bowl or, a New Year's Day bowl, something big. You're not playing for one of the crappy bowls. The only game USC is going to be excited about would have been going to Notre Dame 2 weeks ago or UCLA rivalry game at the end of the season. And let's mention that Notre Dame game for a second. As bad as Arizona State looked last week, they're laying more to Southern Cal than Notre Dame did. Think about that for a second. Notre Dame was laying 7.5 to USC. So Arizona State's laying 8.5. That smells a little fishy to me. I like this Arizona State team. I like the defense. They bounce back in a big way. I look for them to roll 37-20 on Saturday is my best bet.
Love to see it. I'm going to cross USC off my long list. Marco, thank you for that great analysis. I kind of thought maybe Arizona State would be on upset alert, but very good points by you. VR, you have a barking dog here, maybe for your best bet?
Indeed. I got a best bet. I released this as a 4% play. And again, I'll take responsibility for every pick I released on this show. The only reason I gave a disclaimer is so you could know how to manage your risk. I manage mine just fine. I love the SMU side, the Memphis side getting points here against SMU. This is sports betting 101 right here. Number one, Mr. Marco taught me over a decade ago about the Dream Crusher. And we have an SMU team coming off their first loss after being 7-0. So Dream Crusher, number one. Number two, we know just how these two teams have played each other very tight, over the last few seasons, coupled with two very high-profile offenses. When that's the case, you lean on the side with the better defense. And if they're getting points, then it's automatic. That's sports betting 101 because the back door is going to be open. You have an offense that could always have that backdoor ability, and you have the better defense in your back pocket. For me, it just I look for signals. Like when I get my picks, and then there's certain signals that I consider predictive, and as those signals get confirmed, I fire. And with Memphis, a handful of signals have been confirmed, and I gave them out at plus 5.5, I believe. The line's dropping for the show. It's plus 5. I don't think that's still going to be around much longer. I think a lot of sharps are going to agree with me and take the home dog in this one. And the line should reflect that before Saturday. So if you agree, I wouldn't wait too long. If you disagree, sit back. You'll be laying less points with SMU come Saturday, I believe.
All right, that's our best bet segment. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, it's the recap.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
The Big Five American sports are all scheduled in November for the first time since November 2020, and we want to celebrate by slashing the cost of all daily packages by 50%, including 5% best bets. Starting Tuesday, November 1st through Sunday, November 7th, $25 daily packages are priced at $12.50, and $35 5% best bets are priced at $17.50. But even better, this is the perfect time to take advantage of WagerTalk's one-day all access. Lock in the handicapper of your choice for one full day for only $39, including when they have a 5% top play that normally sells for $35. But during our 50% slash promotion, you get a one-day all access for only $19.50. This special is valid through Sunday, November 7th, so save the whole week long.
We're back to wrap up college football week 10. Big game breakdown. Auburn at Texas A&M. VR says take the under 49. Marco says Texas A&M minus 4.5 looks to be the right side. We got some barking dogs, and Marco's barking dog is the same as my best bet, and that is Liberty plus 10 at Ole Miss. VR says you don't need the points with Army. Bet them on the money line. Steam game for him, North Carolina minus 2.5. The sandwich game is also going to be a barking dog for me, and that is Georgia Tech plus 10.5. I already mentioned my best bet is Liberty plus 10. VR says take Memphis plus the points and a little money line sprinkle. And Marco says his best bet also could be a little bit of trap game. Don't fall for the Arizona State loss. That was rather fraudulent with all those turnovers. Arizona State minus 8.5. Thank you guys for hanging out with us every single Wednesday. Do not forget to check out the NFL Bet On It show from Marco, Ralph, VR, and myself. Till next week, let's bet on it.